Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Sacred Soul Shift series. I'm your host, Vanessa, your trusted soul navigator and energy alchemist. In this series, we'll embark on soul-stirring adventures through the realms of intuition and self-healing with women across all modalities, where ancient wisdom and modern insights intertwine. So if you're tired of the scripted routine and ready for healing and growth, my kindred spirit, this series is crafted just for you. It's time for your Sacred Soul Shift. Today we are here with Maria McGrath. She is Australian. our first Aussie guest specialist here tonight with us. I'll just read you her bio. She does some amazing stuff. Maria McGrath is a Creatrix Transformologist. Big word, but I got it. Specialist in healing ancestral trauma, depression, anxiety, and grief, and expanding feminine emotional intelligence. She works with the world's only female mind-specific therapy that is both spiritual and scientific. Love that. I'm going to hear about that in a second. Which is guiding women to tap into their creator realm of the unconscious and reconnect with their intuition and soul wisdom to clear the bloodline of inherited patterns and conditioning, past trauma and emotional pain for fast, real, and lasting healing. That's what I'm all about, guys. Get in this. After struggling with her own deep sadness and grief and depression for 2 decades, which is a really long time, can't wait to hear that story, Maria started searching for something that would make her feel normal again. And after spending years and tens of thousands of dollars, Maria took a leap of faith on a revolutionary new therapy and experienced an amazing soul healing transformation. She knew instantly that her life purpose was setting other women free. Yes, healing their deepest past pains and helping them get back to being their true and best self to live their life with peace, joy, and fulfillment. Maria has been featured on the cover of 2 international women's empowerment magazines. She was a monthly contributor writer for an international online magazine called Luminous Wisdom Sophia for 2 years and is a co-author in 2 best-selling books. What an intro, Maria. I'm going to bring you in. Welcome.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Thank you for joining us midweek for this event with you in Sacred Soul Shift, talking about women's intelligence.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this chat.
So normally I start with people's backgrounds. I love learning about, especially people that are, on a spiritual path and do some spiritual healing type work. I love hearing the adventure and the journey that got you to where you are today. Because normally when people become healers and do this kind of work, they've normally gone through an extraordinary background and they normally have a really empowering story. So I know in your bio you just touched on that you went through 2 decades, which is an amazingly long time to suffer through, grief and sadness and loss, and especially anxiety and stress, because that can take a huge toll on someone's health and mental happiness. Going through such a long period of sadness with the stress, which can be really, really, draining and hard to cope with. So I'd love you to go right back to the beginning where it all started and just give us a little bit of your background and story. And along the way, I love hearing about how your teachers and your mentors came into your life, because I always find that once you make the decision to start shifting, the people that make the most difference in your life find their way to you, without of a hard search for them. They just kind of appear at the right moment. So if you want to give us a rundown, I'd love to hear your background.
Okay, so I live in a very small country town, about 3 hours from Sydney, so west of Sydney. Born in town, but in a hospital, but raised on a farm. So country girl, small town, small schools, had, great classmates, great parents, everything. Because I know a lot of stories start from trauma at a very early age, where mine's really different. I had nothing that would have triggered the sadness and this feeling of not fitting in, of not being, I don't know what it was. It was just a deep sadness that sat in my bones, and I didn't know why. There wasn't a reason for that because I had wonderful parents. They had fantastic marriage. They never fought at all. They drove you crazy with their lovey-dovey kind of stuff, It was a great upbringing, but I can remember at 15 being really sad, feeling like I didn't fit in, feeling like I wasn't good enough. I had no confidence, no self-worth, and that sort of went with me throughout the next two decades. When I was 18, I had a car accident, a pretty traumatic and bad car accident, and that was really when the deep depression started, when I can remember, going out, meeting friends, and when I was around people, I would be okay and have a great time. And I'd go to drive home and this thought of, I just want to drive my car into a tree, just popped into my head for no reason. Well, where the hell did that come from? I didn't understand it, but it was just this deep thing that was within me. Program that was running, and I can now look and say, it was a program that was inherited from I don't know which generation, but for some, further down the line in my ancestral past. But I didn't realise that at the time. I was just like, what is wrong with me? I must be broken. And the more that you think about yourself as broken, the more that you believe it, and the more you sort of close yourself off from people, the more that you think I'm not good enough and I'm not smart enough and I'm not, all of this head noise comes in, and it's just this pattern on repeat. So I guess I didn't allow people to get really close because I had all these fears and insecurities and worries, and because you were holding people at bay, then you felt like, you weren't connecting and you weren't opening up, or you weren't experiencing love, and, it just rippled out. Through my 20s and 30s, there were times when I was okay, and then there were times when the depression got the better of me, and I, would just close myself off and hide from the world. But that got worse in my 30s. By the time I hit 35, it was just like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I was single, I didn't have children, and it was the only thing I wanted was to be a mum. I remember when I left school, all my friends went and they got careers. They were hairdressers or accountants or jewelers or, all sorts of different career paths. And me, I was going to be a mum. I just worked in jobs to get money to keep me going until I became a mum. That was my goal. That was all I wanted. And my grandmother, she had 11 kids. Mum had 5. I had like 40 first cousins just on mum's side. And the direct descendants from my grandmother, as it stands now, is about 117. So my contribution to that is still 0. And 10 years ago, I could not have said that. The fact that I didn't have children was the deepest, most painful grief that I can't even express. And I guess unless you're childless and wanting children, you can't quite understand what that feels like. But it was in every part of me, this deep sadness at not having children. And that stayed with me until I cleared that pain when I was around 40. But that the last 5 years of my 30s, I was in a deep depression, and it got deeper and deeper and deeper. It was like this hole, and it was like I was in a well, and the light got less and less and less and less and less as I got closer to 40. It was just like there's just no getting out of this hole. The light was getting less instead of more. I wasn't climbing up. I was literally falling deeper down, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and at some point I sort of thought I have to find something. I have to do something. Nobody else is going to heal me. Nothing else works. I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of, you know what, if I just moved to another town, maybe that would make me feel better. Maybe if I just got another job, that would make me feel better. If I just had a different man, that would make me feel better. And I was looking for an outside source for a lot of years, for, 25 to 35, looking for something to make me feel better, and nothing actually did. It just made me feel worse because it couldn't fill or heal the hole that was for some reason within me. So when, you did all of these things and nothing worked, and then obviously that cycle, that repeat went round and round again. So what's wrong with me? Why me? Why am I broken? Why am I the only person in the world? There was a lot of victim, like you would say, that, that victim feeling, because I just didn't understand. I didn't understand why it was me. But I started my personal development journey at about 34 or 35, and I did a lot of different things with that as well, a lot of gaining awareness and growing and working on myself. And I tried a ton of different things, and I went to Tony Robbins and the Success Mindset and a 3-day event in Sydney, and I did therapy, and I tried a ton of different things. And in the moment, you know what, this makes sense. I can take this and I can run with this and I can start, moving forward. But you get home and that I couldn't follow through. It didn't give me the snap, the feeling, the shift that I wanted. And then I'd fall back down again. Okay, well, it must be me. Everyone else is going to these things. It must be working for everyone else. It's just me. I'm broken. And it was just this repeat pattern. So, but I kept trying. And that was the only thing that I could do, was to keep trying. No one else was going to fix it for me. I worked that out. But I was crying, curled up on the floor in the last couple of years of my 40s. And I really did want my life to end at that point. I really did. And I prayed just to give me a heart attack, let me die in my sleep, just let me get out of this. I couldn't see any point in going forward, in moving. I didn't know how. I was trying all these different things and spending all the money that I made just trying to feel better. And it was just a horrible place to be. And I couldn't talk to anyone, because I would literally, someone say, how you going? And I'd just cry. Go to a therapist and they'd say, okay, tell me about it. I just cry. I just couldn't even. So, there's been a lot of healing for me to be able to talk about my story, because I certainly couldn't have even thought about talking about it before. But now I've cut the ties. I can remember what it felt like, but I can't feel it. I'm not connected to that feeling, that pain, if that makes sense. Like, a piece of string holding you to the past, I've cut it. I can remember what happened and where I was, but I don't feel it. So when I turned 40, my girlfriends took me away for a week. I didn't want anything. I didn't want to celebrate. I just wanted to be left alone, dying on the lounge room floor. But they took me away, and everyone was celebrating and having a good time and getting ready to go out and having drinks. And I went out to the balcony, and I don't know what stopped me, but I wanted to jump. So that was my lowest point. So something has to happen. Otherwise, I'm not going to be here. I'm just not going to be here. And it was at that point that I got an email from a lady that I'd met through a direct selling company years before. And it was just this, I have been working with women for 20 years, and I finally found the solution to help women clear their shit. Oh, okay, well, I've tried everything else. I've got to do this. I don't have any other choice. I've got to try. So she was having a talk, and it was free to go and hear her talk about this solution that she'd created. And I went to that and yep, okay, I'm in. I've got to do it. That's it. And it was, I think I had to wait. My 40th birthday was in February. I've just had my 50th. So there you go, 10 years of living good. So I had to wait until June. So it was a couple of months. By the time I got the email and went to that one day, I had to wait 2 months, I think. holding on for this solution. But I had hope because I'd heard about, it's female mind, it's specific, it clears out all of this stuff that you've inherited. I didn't know we inherited emotions. We inherit our green eyes and our bent pinky finger and our big bones or our small bones or whatever, our genetics. We inherit our genetics and we understand that. We're taught that, from a young age, it's a part of science and we get it. No one taught me that we could inherit the beliefs or the patterns or the trauma, the pain that our mother or grandmother or great-great-grandfather that went to war could have went through. I wasn't aware of that. But that was what she told me. Okay, it's not me. Okay, and there's hope that I can get rid of this. So I stuck around and it was a 3-day intensive working to clear the grief and the sadness and the anger because I was so sad, because I was jealous of everybody else who had kids and I was envious and resentful probably. I was just full of anger. Toxic energy was just flowing out of me, and the people I didn't push away ran away because I was just so deeply sad and depressed and angry and all of that. It was just horrible. So I went to this 3 days and I come away from that 3 days a completely different person. I would not have ever believed that it could change or it could be that fast. And I've done a lot of work since, don't get me wrong, and a lot of Creatrix on a regular basis because life happens. We're always going through new stuff. We've just had 2 years of a global pandemic. If that's not going to trigger past stuff, nothing will. So, the 3 days, it was just, it was the big stuff that I worked on. I still had a lot of the insecurities and a lot of the little stuff that I worked on after that as I went through my training to become a transformologist. But in that 3 days, I went there on the drive because it was up at Newcastle, so it's like a four-hour drive for me. I was yelling and, road raging the whole way. And then on the way home, before I even got back to the main highway, some guy had almost hit me in his car. And I'm like, oh, well. And then I thought, oh, my God, I don't believe that just happened. Holy shit, this works. It was like, oh, my God, it was the biggest aha, like, wow, I felt different. I felt good. But my reaction to other people in that moment, thought, wow, everything shifted. So it wasn't just this feeling, it was my reaction and the way I dealt with things, and everything had changed. I went from walking down the street with my eyes looking down at my feet to actually looking people in the eye, smiling, feeling in here a joy, and that has stayed in the 10 years since that. Now, it's not to say that I'm happy every minute of every day, but there's a joy within me that doesn't dissipate. You can be happy and sad and grief. I had my closest cousin, we lived a kilometre apart on the farm. She turned 50 a year before me and she died of cancer and like unbelievable grief. But because I cleared out all the past, I had moments where I would cry for 10 minutes and then I would be okay. It wasn't the deep in my bones pain that I had before. I could still function and I could remember all the happy times I had with her instead of being stuck in all the sad, which was the biggest difference I felt, with her passing. And I still have a cry, every now and then. It's been about 12 months. But I can cry and we're meant to feel emotion. It's meant to come in. We deal with it. We express it and then we let it go. It's not meant to stay. It's not meant to stop us from living. I think that's what I've learned through everything that I've done is, yes, we still have all the emotions. We still have all the events happen. But once you've cleared out, the stuff from 50,000 other generations, you're just dealing with the now. It's easier to deal with this one event than 1,000 events. Does that make sense? If we're looking at that ancestral history.
Totally.
So, yeah, so that's, in short, my story. It probably wasn't that short, but I have, after that weekend away, and I went home for this, I could see everybody else then, after my pain was clear, I could see everybody else looking down at their feet. I could see, other people in pain, where before I couldn't see anything but myself, but I could see, I want to help others. I want to let others know that there's something that works, that this shifts and it changes and it's so quick and it's so painless and it's, yeah.
I love, too, I just want to go back that you were talking about when you started, your journey from, grief and depression, where you were talking about how you were trying all different things. And I really love that. And I really want to touch on that because I think that's something that, I've said it a few times, but I think you need to say these things a few more times to finally be able to let it sink in. Because I think when people, start to awaken and start or, try all different healing things where they, they'll try one or two things and it doesn't work for them, or, they don't resonate with it and they give up. And I think that's really powerful. And you touched on it there where you just kept trying different things. There is no one thing that will serve you. There is no one thing, that might, it might, and if it happens to you, fantastic. And I can't believe it. And it's a miracle that the first thing you try will help you on your journey. It's going to start shifting things for you, but it's really important to never give up. If something doesn't work for you, who cares? Try something else. If you book 10 classes with someone and you attend 2 and they're shit, don't keep going. Who cares? Give it up. Try something else. It's really important to find something that speaks to your soul and grabs your attention and starts shifting things internally for you. It's important not to, start doing yoga and then hate it. Or start going to the gym 5 times a week
and never do anything ever again.
Exactly. It's important, and you actually said it again after that, where you felt it was the end, but you never gave up. There was that little soul pulling, I think, deep inside you that kept telling you there has to be more. I deserve more. I'm worthy of more. There's something greater, waiting for me. You've just got to hold on to that and just keep trying. Because it's when you give up that you allow, the shadow and the deeper emotions to take over. And once you get stuck in that position, it's really hard to, help yourself out of it. And as you said, no one's coming to save you. I know it's a very overused line, but no one is actually coming to save you. People will point it out to you. People will say stuff. People will joke. People will sarcastically mention things, but no one will save you until you're ready. You have to be the one that says, I need help, and I'm willing, to start taking action. I think that's really
and I think there's 2 parts to that, and one of them is when we're younger, we hear all of these stories, and in the books and in the movies, the man always comes and saves the girl. It's not how it works within it. You have to save you internally to be happy externally. But with that, with all the different things that I tried, there's a journey, I believe, and you may need every one of those pieces before you're ready for the big thing that's going to shift. Because for some, there's a journey of awareness, there's a journey of growing and owning, and there's a time when you need to talk, and there's a time when you need to step up for you. So there's you have to go through that, however far it is. Like you said before, when you're ready, that one thing turns up for you. So the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and maybe it was the fact that I needed to do all of those things to know that this is the one that worked for me. I found the female, which I think for me was the big thing. It was this, healing our creator realm, because my deepest grief was the pain of not having children. That's my uterus. That's like the creator realm of our unconscious. We have this program as women where we can grow life within us. It's part of us, whether we use it or not, whether there are glitches in the system or not. that's part of our programming. Men don't have that. They don't need that. They don't have the ability to grow a human within them, so they don't need that program. And for when it's that deeper pain, you need to have that female-specific tool that's working for your female-specific. I don't know how a man could understand what that feels like. They can have their own grief if they don't have children, but it's not quite the same because you were born literally for that job. That was part of, your functioning body. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
It's a very, growing a baby within you is a very female thing. And I know that there are a lot of women who don't want to do that. So, and that's completely fine. And there are women who desperately want to and can't. So that they have a pain that can't be understood by those who don't have a uterus. I guess is the quickest way to say that. Yeah. So we, I did do a lot of work and a lot of awareness, a lot of growing before I was ready for the big thing that did work for me, because that's it was a very deep unconscious soul healing work, and you can't just start there. If it's not, it can't be the first thing that you do. You have to want and be on that journey before you're ready for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I always talk about how when how you want things to change, and you take that first step, and spirit always meets you halfway. So it's that taking of action, it's that continual, desire for more, and you want growth, you want healing. When you put your hand up and say, yes, it's for me. I think all those little things that you do along the way are teaching you, they're helping you grow, they're opening you up, to more, to what's out there. And then, as you said, when the time's right, bam, you'll be here with the thing. And it's really cool how you said it just takes, one day, 2 days. It literally does. When something is right for you and it appears at the perfect time, when your healing's ready, when you're ready to overcome whatever it is, or, open yourself up to whatever it is, it literally is instant. And I do this with my root was therapy, which is, I think, along the lines similar to your, past life ancestral healing. That when you are ready and you do the healing the right way, it is instant and it's transformative. And I think that was really funny how you said you drove, hating everyone on the road, and then when you drove home, you were like, whatever. You're a completely different person, and you're like, who am I? Because it is instant, and those beliefs, those trapped emotions are all released. So you are completely, not 100% healed, as you said. It is a journey of like healing. But once you start releasing all these trapped emotions, cutting cords, getting rid of limiting beliefs, it is an instant thing, and it's amazing to see someone change, on the spot. And I find it really enlightening, and it uplifts me as, someone that practices and helps other people through this process, is hearing about, someone waking up the next morning and just seeing life completely different. It's really amazing, because you do see other people then that were in the same position as you were. And it's then kind of in our human nature, I think, especially as women, to want to go and help those people as well. But it is kind of a deeper, longer journey that you need to go on. But the initial healing can be, in 5 minutes when you're ready.
Yeah, and there's a video of me on YouTube somewhere. I think I have a copy of it, where when we were doing this, they sort of took a video before, talking about what was our struggle, what was going on with us, and then there was a video after, and it was just like, I've lost 10 years off my face from the pain, and the weight of the emotion was so instantly gone that I looked 10 years younger. My hair was shiny where before it was dull, and so there's a physical connection between that emotion and the body, and which it worked with all of you. We're one whole human, and releasing and working on those emotions help us in the physical as well, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's also, a benefit when you think about trapped emotions. they lead to, you know, disease and all those terrible things in the physical body. But when you think about it, all the good things in the body as well, you know, your appearance, it's also benefited when you're releasing and you're healing. So you will notice, you know, the nice hair, the less wrinkles, you know, the sparkle in your eye return because it's not suppressed. And it's not, you know, stuck deep down. You're allowed to express, and I think releasing all this stuff, you know, starts shifting all the serotonin and everything in your body to make you feel good, and that starts to come from the inside out, and it is really powerful.
Yeah, it's not something somebody else can give you, and like you said, with that sparkle in your eye, I can remember before the Creatrix breakthrough, I can remember looking in the mirror and saying to myself, I don't even know who you are. Like, I didn't recognize the person looking back at me, if that makes sense. It was just like, I don't even know you. You know, the person that was trapped in the soul, I guess, was looking at the physical. I don't even recognize you. You know, there was just so much pain in the face because of all the emotions. And, yeah, it was just like, I'm more me now than I ever was. There's a knowing that I'm good enough and that I'm worthy and that I'm capable and that I can look after myself and that life is good, you know, no matter what. It's all of this knowing coming from the inside out. It's not something somebody else can tell you.
And I think it's too, you know, not giving a fuck. It's for a lot of swear, but it's the caring about everything at the same time as not caring about anything. Because you know you've developed your boundaries and you're healing, and it's caring about everything on a different level to what you cared about it before, and you're not letting it affect you. I really love that. I would just really want to go into, you started to talk about it before, the difference between the male and the female mind. If you want to give us a little rundown, I love the way you explain it. It makes it really easy to understand that there is a difference between the female and male mind, and you know how we're brought up to only see it one way when in fact we do have two different operating systems, and it's really powerful once you understand the difference between them and how that can it really affect your relationships in the end with the opposite sex.
Absolutely. And there's not a lot of people teaching this, and there are a ton of differences. And I'll bring out my prop in a minute if you like, but just to simplify it really easily, it's like having, because everybody understands technology because we live with it every day. You know, it's like having an iPhone and a Samsung. I have a Samsung. They can do the same things. You know, you can get on a call, you can get on the internet, you can text and message, take a video. You know, you can do all the same things. Okay, iPhone, but they've got a completely different functionality running system. You know, the software for the iPhone is not compatible with the Android. You can't download iTunes onto an Android or a Samsung or whatever phone. Does that make sense? Yeah. You have an iPad and an Apple, they're completely different technology than the Windows or your Samsung phone, for example. They can still do the same things, but the functionality is completely different. If someone hands me an iPhone and says, "Can you ring such and such for me? I'm driving," I'm like, "Oh, okay." I think I can't even get past the home screen. It's so different. Even though they're used to it, that's what they've used their whole life. They don't know anything else. It's simple. For me, with my Samsung, it's simple for me. Does that make sense? And that is so how it's like with male and female. We can do the same things, but the functionality, the programming, the hardware is completely different. And we get to it in different ways. And for a really quick example, which I don't think too many people know, the retina in our eyes is different. The female retina is different to the male. How we see the world is different. What we see in the world is different. So men see this great big, they can see a big smile, like if they're a baby and they're looking at mum, they just see a smile. But a girl can see the finer details. Our eyes pick up. We pick up if the eyes are sad, or there's a furrowed brow, or, if there's the lines on the mouth that say that we're actually not as happy as what we're pretending to be. I had a friend at school, a girlfriend at school, and I could tell when she was cranky from like 50 metres away. Her nose would flare unbelievably. Her boyfriend could never say, I was like, don't poke the bear, mate. And he was like, what are you talking about? He could never pick it, but I could see it from 50 feet away. Do you get him? Really simple, but it makes a huge difference. They live out here in peripheral. Because they're the hunter, they're the gatherer, they're the protector. That is how they were created, programmed. Now, as women, we can learn peripheral. I live out in the country, so there's kangaroos jumping on the road, so I learned to see things coming, but it was something I had to teach myself. Where a lot of women, we're focused, we see here, and we see more of what's going on in other people's faces. We'll see that the boss has the shits, he's cranky, he looks like he's cranky. We'll think, oh, what did we do wrong? What did I do? Didn't he like my report? We'll make it about us. The guy sitting next to me, what are you talking about? Doesn't see it at all. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. I'll just show you, this is the video that you saw. The male brain is kind of like these boxes. Everything is compartmentalised. They can put everything into boxes kind of thing. So they have a box for work. When they go to work, they get out their work box and they can do all of their work and not think about all the external things that are going on at home with their wife or with, their friends or with whatever. They can get in their box, they can do their work, they're focused, they do task. If you're a woman and you've heard, leave your personal life at home, it's easy for a guy, he can do that. And that's why they say it, because they don't know anything different. Of course I leave my personal life at home. I don't get that box out, it's put away. And then they've got a box. They've actually got a nothing box, which women would love to have. It literally, their mind can shut down and they can think of nothing. It's how they release stress. It is an actual inbuilt program that they can release stress. Now, we as women do not have this box, so we stress about everything and we never let it go, and we don't have a way to release it like they do. We try meditation and sometimes that works. For a lot of people it can work, but for some it doesn't work at all. But we have to find other tools and tips and tricks and ways to deal with our stress because we don't have an inbuilt function for that. Now, just while I'm talking about stress, in a scientific lab, there was some obvious scientists, and they've taken cortisol, which is the stress release hormone, the toxic one that runs around our system when we're stressing out, and they've poured this on a male brain and a female brain in a lab, okay? And the cortisol did nothing to the male brain because their brain is different. They have a way of dealing with the stress of releasing the cortisol that's in their programming. Now, when they tipped that cortisol onto the female brain, it was like acid had been tipped onto it, okay? That started burning and disintegrating the brain. So when we as women are stressing out, we're doing a lot more damage to ourselves, our body, our brain, our mind than what men do when they stress because they have that inbuilt. So it's really, really important for us as women to know we're different and to find the tools that can work for us to reduce that stress. It is huge. It is very important that we release the stress in some form. Now, I've got this one, which is sort of, instead of the boxes, this is the female brain. It's like this great big ball of wire that everything is connected and it's lit up by emotion all the time. We are hormonal creatures. It's part of our design. We have different hormones being released all the time, and they are connected to our emotions. So we're always feeling emotion, a ton more than men. It just is. We have 8 times more crying hormone than men. That's why we cry. It's a part of who we are. But know that it's absolutely normal for you to feel the emotion and attach emotion to everything. And our brain stores our memories by the emotion we felt in the moment. So when you remember something, you're remembering what you felt in that moment. So someone comes up, hi, how are you going? And you don't remember them. Well, you didn't feel any emotion when you met them the first time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We store by emotion. Yeah, so we will feel, and the more that we remember stuff, and even this is something why a lot of therapies don't work as well for women. When we talk about our crap, our pain, our hurt, we're actually reliving the memory and we're burning the emotion deeper. We're feeling it and we're feeling it and we're feeling it. And it's literally burning a hole in our brain, making that connection deeper, more painful, because we've just retold the story over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And we distort it too, don't we? We make it worse and worse each time we watch the movie.
Yeah. And this is why it's really important to have female-specific tools, because that when we're working, we're not, as me as a transformologist, what I do now, I don't make people talk about their story. It doesn't matter. If you feel angry, you feel angry. I don't care why you feel it. You just feel it. And we're going to get rid of it. If you feel hurt, if you feel disconnected, if you feel unloved, it doesn't matter why you feel it. You feel it. So we're going to deal with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think it's
very similar to the work I do as well.
Yeah.
With releasing trapped emotion. It's so powerful once you do it. And I think the same too with traditional, psychotherapy, where you sit for hours reliving the same event. You're just creating a story in your mind that's worse than the original event. Whereas if you just felt the emotion and released it, it would be done in an instant.
Yeah. And it's the same with beliefs. You might believe that I'm not good enough. Well, it doesn't matter where it come or how it come to be. If it's there, then just find a tool that gets rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about it and I used to do the affirmations in the mirror all the time. They did nothing for me, and it's because you're doing that at a conscious level and you're not cutting the tie with the unconscious program that's there. You just need to go that bit deeper. It's good for a start and it gets you on that journey. So, okay, I'm serious about working on me. However, to get lasting results, you need to go into an unconscious, you reprogram that at that unconscious level. But, we're so different. Ladies, we're so different to men in so many different ways. I could go on for days. Trust me, I could go on. But there's so many differences, and it's really important for us to know that we're different. And don't let anyone tell you that you're not, or that you should leave your personal life at home, or you should be able to get over it and get on with it. Just because they can, it doesn't mean that you're in the same place. So trust yourself and know that you can. Yeah, you just need the right tools.
What type of advice would you give to someone that was kind of on a journey that was similar to yours, going through all the grief and the pain and the depression and not understanding, where it's coming from? What would you start with? What would be the first few steps you would recommend someone do?
I guess for a start, and I like I said, I don't like the reliving and the retelling. However, sometimes if there's something that's new and fresh, you may need to talk about it. It makes you feel better to talk about it or to write it down. Now, journaling maybe, but writing down what's going on. If there is a ton of noise going on in your head, get it out. And don't type, okay? There is a direct link between writing and seeing it the ink in black and white and your mind reading what you're writing. Sometimes if you write down when you first wake up in the morning before you're really even fully conscious, you get deeper information than what's really going on, than what you can become aware of when you are fully awake. Does that make sense? Write down what's going on and then come back and read it and say, oh, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking. This is really the noise that's going on in my head. And then you can sort of start to say, well, do you really believe this? Is it a habit, a pattern that you've never stopped to think, I can take control of this? Something that I use with a lot of clients is red flag words. So you can go back and if you've written down, I can't do this and I can't think straight and I don't want to do this and I don't, and all of these negative words, can't, don't, won't, those kind of words. If you cross them out and then put the direct opposite, I can do this, I want to do this, just changing that language can change the way that you then can move forward, just instantly. All right, I'm not going to say can't. Swap it. Yeah. And should, another one, should means, well, we feel guilty if we don't do it. I should go visit my mother. I want to go visit my mother. It just changes it instantly how you're going to feel about what you're telling yourself to do. They're just really little simple things that you can start with. To just start making small changes. I hope that helps.
True, and I love the idea of writing, especially when you're waking up. It's like the connection between the conscious and the unconscious. That first 30 minutes or an hour is really powerful. And, things like journaling or affirmation or just light meditation or something can be really, strong, and the deeper healing work can be done because you've got that link to your subconscious and your unconscious mind to do that work. At that, don't grab for your phone in the morning. don't do the toxic things. Don't listen to the complaining or wake up and list out everything that's wrong with the world. That's not going to serve you at all. That's really if someone triggers you, if you're going through your day and all of a sudden someone does something and you are mad or sad or whatever, write down whatever's going on in your head, because you will find good information in there as to what it was that really annoyed you or hurt you, or it's surprising how many women, and this was me, I get it, because if you don't know, you don't know, but we react without stopping to think why we were reacting. We're not taught to analyse ourselves, and it's really, really hard to analyse ourselves. But if you, in that moment, oh, my God, so he did this and I felt that and then I did this and then that happened, and you can see this great big picture of what was actually going on, where if you don't stop and take like a snapshot of it in that moment, you'll just, I had a bad day, I was just angry all day. But you can find, well, that really hurt me. It wasn't anger, it was hurt, it was disappointment, it was something else. And then you have the ability or the choice as to whether you say, you know what you said to me today, you can go and have a conversation with whoever hurt you or whatever it was. You know what, it really hurt. I got angry and I threw something at you, but it was because I was hurt. And then they can make the choice whether they do it again or whether it's, oh, I had no idea I hurt you, so they can change their behaviour. Yeah, so true. That's such a powerful thing as well, being able to pause before reacting. And it kind of shifts into, it's still really important to feel your emotions because that's how you're going to express them, but it's about feeling the right emotions, I think, and knowing, how to react from yourself and not react to someone else's behavior, because that's them reacting. It's two completely different things, and when it's two volatile things come together, they explode and you have no idea what's going on. But it's really important to step back and understand your feelings, not how the other person is projecting on you. I think that's really powerful.
You can only work on what you felt, what's going on for you, but then you can share that with somebody else to make them aware, because we don't know what we don't know. And a lot of the time we just react out of sheer emotion, and we're not even thinking about what we're really feeling or how we're, all the different things that we could be feeling or that could be triggered other than just that anger reaction or whatever. You know, a lot of clients will say, oh, you know, Maria, this happened, and I blah, blah, they'll word vomit at me. I say, you said hurt and you said this, and you said, oh my God, because they don't even know what they're feeling, because they don't stop to listen to their own words. And it's not something that we're used to doing.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
I think assuming and presuming comes into that as well, what you were just saying, that like when something happens, you instantly assume you know something, or you presume they're going through something, or they're going to say something, or they're going to react in some way. And that is very, very toxic. To say another word for toxic, but it's something that is so common for our human behavior, just to assume everything and presume everything. And when you stop doing that and you start to ask questions, or ask yourself questions, or ask them questions, and when that, you know, that assuming you know everything, and that is taken away, it's so good to be able to step back and see from someone else's perspective, because before then, you know, you're putting words into the conversation that haven't been said yet, and you're planning everything that's happening in your mind that hasn't even happened yet, and all these things start happening, and you worry, and that's where stress comes from. That's when stuff starts to blow up. But when you take a step back and you remove that from the situation, it's, you know, it breaks everything down, and everything just becomes so simple when you just take stock of your own emotions.
All of that stuff you were just saying, that's not going on in the man's mind. He doesn't have all that knowledge, that why, that. And I think another thing with along with assumptions is expectations.
Mm-hmm.
We have expectations on, because of the beliefs or the life or the programs for where we are and how we've lived. And we can expect hubby to go out and put the rubbish out and, you know, massage our feet or whatever. But if we don't tell him, he has no idea. His expectations of life are completely different. He doesn't know. And he cannot read your mind. He cannot read your mind. And if you give him the filthy look and say, you should know what I'm thinking, you should know I want you to get your ass off the lounge and come and help me, he doesn't see those fine facial expressions. He's not getting it. You need to tell him.
That's so true, and we just get sick of, you know, saying the same thing over and over again. But that's what it comes down to: is they're in a different box. They're in the afternoon TV box, or, you know, the beers o'clock box, or the nothing box.
I'm releasing my stress. I'm not even listening to a word you say box. That's his nothing box. And you can make changes. You can, go and sit in front of him and say, right, I want you to get out your I love my wife box. Now, I want you to hear me when I say I need you to do this, this, this. If you've made it clear and you've made sure that he's not listening to you because he's releasing all his stress, and he's listening attentively, then you can tell him what you need. And I didn't even know. We had a woman, and I like to use this story. It wasn't one of my clients, but she went to do the Creatrix course, to become a transformologist, what I do. And she said, the main reason I want to do this, I want to heal everything to do with me because I want to leave my husband. I want to leave him, lazy ass, I'm sick to death of him, rah, 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 rah. And when you're working on you, you're working on you. You're not working on his issues. You're working on whatever's going on with you. She went home after a week, and hubby said, oh, how was your week, hon? And she sat down on the lounge and she said, you know what? She actually started crying. She said, you know what? I was going to leave you. I went away because I was sick of this marriage. And he said, I had no idea. He had no idea how unhappy she was. And she was ready to leave. And they had this massive big talk, and they both talked about where their expectations were and what their feelings were and everything else. And they're still happily married, 7 years later. we don't communicate in a way because we don't understand what the other's taking in or thinking or feeling or how we work.
Yeah, so true. I just had a comment on who talking about journaling just before. I think it's Susan. She doesn't put her name in. I write down everything in my diary. Plus, she has a journal just for me, which I find very therapeutic, and it helps to look back on, and actually writing it down does make a huge difference, and it does. I think there's something true about the power of handwriting as well. Just that soul connection to your own handwriting, I think is really beautiful.
Yeah.
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 So we can find you at Restore Balance and Harmony. That's where you live on the internet.
That's where I live, yes.
Links above the video. So everyone will be able to access you from when this video is posted in my guides. So I'll put your Instagram and your website link, and you have a Facebook group, The Feminine Evolution, as well, which I'll put up there if anyone wants to come and work with you.
Yeah, awesome.
I just have a last question.
Yep.
I ask everyone this at the end of my little chats with people. What is your message to the world? I love these empowering little notes that come out at the end of these talks. Your message to the world. What's your legacy? What do you want to leave behind? What's your message for every woman out there?
Oh, gee, that's a tough one. Look, I think every woman should know what it feels like to love themselves, to be free of all of the stuff, to just know who they are, know that they're worthy, know that they're good enough. And that is like it is as deep as you know your own name. You know you are worthy and good enough and loved by you as clearly as you know your own name. And everything else that comes into your life is just this added extra bonus. It's like presents on Christmas because you're whole. You know, I want every woman to feel whole and complete and free. And it is possible, absolutely possible. I can help you get there.
What a beautiful message. And I love that because I have this thing that I always talk about as well is, you know, taking off all the masks and removing all the roles that we play in life, because that's just like this fake perception that we put up for, you know, every conversation and every, you know, thing or task that we have to do in our life. And that just the person you are when you're not any of those things, you know, who are you? I think that person is worth discovering. I think that's really beautiful. That's what you want to share with the world.
When you're connected and you're whole, there are no masks. You can be. You just be. You just are. I think is what Maz says. You just are. You are whatever you are. And that just takes all that weight of all of those masks and trying to please others and trying to be what you think others want and putting everyone else before yourself, which most women do, because we've been taught that that's just how we are, you know. We give everybody else and we're last.
It's so true. And it is, love how you just touched on the weight of that. You know, it's a heavy weight to carry being someone else. And I'm not talking about just lying, but not showing up as you know, everyone talks about this authentic self, but it's so true. And once you tap into that, you can just forget, you know, all these roles that you've been playing. You don't need to be any of that anymore. You just show up as you, and how you are is good enough. And I just love that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I'm really enjoyed tonight and chatting, and I hope some some got something out of it.
Really powerful. Thank you so much for joining us, especially midweek, the random Wednesday night. It's been a nice change, and thank you. And it's so fun to talk to another Australian woman out there in the world.
Yeah, anytime.
Thanks for being with us, Maria. Thank you for your wonderful wisdom and sharing, just being open to sharing your story, because sometimes that can be scary, no matter how many times you tell it, right? So thank you so much for being honest and showing up for us here tonight.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed being here.
Thank you, dear souls, for joining me on this sacred journey. If you enjoyed this soul-nourishing experience, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you can stay connected and never miss a moment of our soulful exploration. Let's keep this transformative conversation going in the comments below. Share your insights, your dreams, and the magical moments you encounter. This is a community of like-minded souls, and your voice matters. If you're feeling called to dive even deeper into the realms of intuition and soulful living, remember that I'm here for you. Reach out to me through the links in the description. Let's embark on a personalized adventure to help you create the life of your dreams. This is Vanessa signing off from the Sacred Soul Shift series. Stay enchanted and keep shining bright.